It's good to laugh.
Yes, and it's not it's a real pleasure to talk with you. Yes, I follow what you do for a long time, so it's a real pleasure.
I want to tell you, it is an honor to be with all of you, and it is a pleasure to be in this interview and to be in this city in Lisbon, Portugal, for my very first time. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes, I'm happy that you are here.
Thank you for making time for this interview.
I will begin with my personal curiosity because for a long time I follow I do some research on near-death experiences, and I really like to talk with people that had this kind of experience, and you have two in your childhood. So it's,
you read all of my old books, I see.
Yeah. I would like you to share what happened and how that experience really led to your path right now.
It's a good question, and it's something I rarely talk about in public. I did write about this 20 years ago in one of my books, and I have not talked about this very, very much. I had two near-death experiences, both of them in the same year of my life, when I was 5 years old. One of them was with electricity, and I remember very consciously taking a wire with scissors. I scraped the insulation, so this bare copper wire, and I walked to an electrical outlet, and I plugged both in the outlet, and I was severely burned. Even today I have scars. It's black. My face was burned, my eyelashes were gone, my eyebrows were burned, and it was in the middle of the day like this when it happened. And I was placed in my bedroom while the doctor was coming to the house. My mother called the doctor, and they said, wait here. And while I was waiting, broad daylight, I began to see things in my room that I did not see before the electrical experience. So the shock literally shocked me into an awareness of another reality that I had not seen before. And for me, the experience was a very positive experience. It was the opportunity there were beings in my room that were healing my body. And one of them was behind me. Even though there was a wall, there was a being where there should be a wall, and one of them was at my feet. And when the doctor arrived at my room, the burns were already beginning to heal. So it was an experience for me. It told me that there is another way to feel, and when I feel this way, the world looks different, another way of seeing. Okay. Later in that month, I was in a swimming pool. My mother was with me. She had gone with friends, and I was left alone. And I walked into the water in the shallow end, and I began just to walk, and the water was deeper and deeper and deeper. And I went to the very bottom of the deep water. And I remember that it felt very peaceful. I opened my mouth, I let out the air, and this peace and this calm came over me, and I could see the beings that were with me, and they were telling me that I had to make a choice, that either I come back to this world or I go to another world, and it was my choice. It was my choice. And I made a choice to be in this world, and then suddenly people were pulling me out of the water, and they were pumping on my chest, and that was when the pain began. The pain was when I came back to this world, but when I was in between. And I don't know how much time there was. There was no pain at all. It was very peaceful. It felt very good. And it taught me what it feels like to let go. Because when I was in the water, I completely let go. I let go of my breath. I let go of this world. And that was it. And it taught me that when it is time for me to go to another world, it taught me what that will feel like, that it is a peaceful, a calm feeling of letting go. I don't have to to cling to this world when the time comes for me to leave. So those two experiences, one taught me that there's another reality and what feeling I can make that shows me that reality. And the other experience in the water, it taught me what it feels like to let go, to absolutely let go, and to know that that is available to me when I leave this world, not to be afraid.
And are you able to invoke that feeling sometimes
Sure.
in your life
All the time.
to really let go?
All the time. I think that's the value of the feeling. And all the time, the awareness to see, to be very aware of my surroundings, to be very aware of that I'm not alone in this world. That's the thing. So why, did you have a near-death experience?
No.
Oh, you were asking, okay.
No.
I think it's different for different people. And different people, I believe that we have the experience that we need in that moment to help us, give us the tools that we will need from that point forward. And at an early time in my life, it was a very difficult life. My family had a difficult time. My father was alcoholic. Our family was very dysfunctional. It was difficult for me. I'm the oldest. I was 5, and I have a younger brother who is 4 years younger, so he was only 1 at the time. And the family dynamics were difficult for me, and I think it was a way for me to escape. I thought, but what I discovered was it was a way for me to be more in this world, because I learned I could feel, I could have a feeling, and the world looked different. I could have a feeling, and it would be a calm, a peaceful feeling of letting go, just to let go. And we don't always think about this. This is very interesting. To be in this world, there is a tension that we hold that keeps us in this world all the time. It's subconscious. It's a tension that says, I'm here. When we're awake, when we're asleep, we hold that tension. But we don't even know it until we have the opportunity to release it. And when we release that tension, that's what it feels like. Now, as an adult, I study ancient traditions, indigenous traditions, native wisdom. And what I learned is that in many traditions, when the people reach the age, old age, and it's time for them to die, they don't suffer. They call it conscious death. They simply let go. And in Egypt, the Egyptian traditions on the temple walls, they actually talk about the ceremony of letting go. So conscious death, letting go. So I learned that feeling for myself when I was very young. And so I don't fear that time in my life. I'm not ready for it. I believe I will be here a very long time. And I told my mother, after those experiences, I told my mother I will be in this world for 200 years. And she said, why 200 years? And I said, because I want to see the change that's happening in the world. Well, this was in the 1950s. And my mom says, what change? I said, the big change that will happen in the world. Now we know, I have been with Tibetan monks, Tibetan nuns that are 120 years old, and they're very healthy and very strong, and I expect they will continue to live as well. And science, the best science, now tells us that every organ in our body has the ability to heal itself. Every organ, even the organs we were told could not. So brain tissue, spinal cord tissue, heart tissue, pancreatic tissue, all now are documented with the ability to heal themselves if they are given the right environment. And that environment is directly connected to thoughts, feelings, and emotions, how we feel about this world. And if we are frightened, if we live in fear, that is a form of stress. And the stress is what steals the life from our bodies. If we have that stress, if we've learned to heal the stress, then our bodies are able to heal and reproduce. The cells reproduce and heal themselves all the time. So I have always told my mom, and now my mom's health, she is declining. her memory is disappeared. And I visited my mom the day before I came on this trip. I went to see my mother. And at first she doesn't recognize me. And then I said, "Mom, it's Gregg." And she says, "Oh, you're going to live 200 years. And she remembers that. She still remembers that after all this time.
Yeah, it's quite incredible.
Yeah.
While we were talking, so many questions pop up in my mind.
I didn't know we were going to have this conversation, so this is interesting.
And of course, one it's obvious because you really study so many ancient traditions and so many different places, and India and Tibet and.
Can I tell you why I've done that? I'd like to talk just a moment about why I've studied those ancient traditions. I'm trained as a scientist, and my degree is in the earth sciences. I'm a geologist. I have a background in ocean biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, and computer science. So they all work together to help me understand the physical world. But I've also found that there is a wisdom in our world that began a long time ago, long before science. And the wisdom has been distorted over time. History, religions, they have distorted this ancient wisdom. So my feeling as a scientist is if I could go to the places least disturbed by the modern world, that the ancient wisdom would be more intact. And if I could understand that wisdom for myself, that I could share that with other people. And it helps us in our personal lives. And for me, perhaps even more importantly, it helps us in our global lives. Because the world is at a very, very precious, rare moment of change right now. It's a time of extremes. The extremes in the climate, the extremes in the economy, the extremes in society. Cycles of extremes are all converging in this moment right now. And we've got to think differently than we ever have in the past. The old solutions no longer work. If we can take the wisdom of those ancient traditions, 5,000 years of human experience, and we can apply that to the solutions today, that gives us the opportunity to be successful as we move forward, as we go through the evolution to a better world, to better lives, and to become better people. So for that reason, I've spent a lot of time in some of the most isolated, remote, beautiful, magnificent places remaining on the earth, the monasteries of Tibet and Nepal and Peru and the Andes Mountains and Bolivia and India and all through the American desert Southwest, where the ancient people have preserved a way of thinking that is confirmed, now confirmed by the best science of today. And so my goal is to marry together the wisdom of the past, the best science of today, into new solutions for our lives and for our world. And that's the reason that I spend time with these ancient and indigenous people.
Because it's not wisdom of the past, it's wisdom of the present, of all times.
It is. It has been with us for a long time, yes.
And what's the common ground? What do they have in common?
Yes, as different as they are. Tibet, Nepal, India, Peru, Bolivia, very different traditions. The common theme for all of them. All of them tell us that we are connected to ourselves. All of them tell us we are connected to one another. All of them tell us we are connected to the earth. All of them tell us the language of the heart is the language that communicates with the field of energy that connects all things. It's not the language of the voice. So when we say with our voice, please bring peace, please bring abundance, please bring rain to our crops, the field of energy, the matrix of energy does not recognize that, and nothing happens. And we become frustrated, and we feel that our prayers don't work. But when we use the language that the field understands, the language of emotion, when we give thanks of gratitude and appreciation from our heart, when we feel the feeling as if our prayers are already answered. So what does it feel like to have abundance in our lives? What does it feel like to have health in our bodies? When we come at our lives from that perspective, the field will show us that. And this is the common theme in those ancient traditions. They focus on the language of the heart, not the language of the mouth. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's really to amplify your best feelings, the best human feelings, isn't it?
It is, but the thing is, now our science has confirmed what our ancestors told us. Because now science tells us the field is made of electrical and magnetic information, and that the heart is the strongest bioelectric generator in the body, stronger than the brain, and that the heart is the strongest biomagnetic generator in the body, stronger than the brain. The brain has a magnetic and an electric field that is very weak compared to the magnetic and the electrical field of the heart. So our heart was designed, it's the one organ in our body that is designed to communicate with the world beyond our body. And we do it subconsciously all the time. My heart is communicating with you right now, and everyone in this room on a subconscious level. The key is, how do we make it conscious? How do we learn intentionally to use this language? My heart is speaking to you and yours to me right now. Do you know what your heart is saying? And this is the key. Do we know what the signal is that our heart is actually saying? So, yeah.
That's why what I was asking me is, while you're talking with me, what our heart feels we're talking about. Yes, that was the question.
Yeah.
And do you know? You are conscious about it?
Very conscious. And as we come into this room, that helps us to feel as a family. I'm very comfortable with you. I think you're very comfortable with me. Are you comfortable with me?
Yes.
Yeah. It's because our hearts are open right now. If there were someone in the room that was not a friend and that had a very closed heart, we would feel that. So subconsciously, we do this all the time. And everyone does. It's called good vibes, bad vibes, intuition. The science now is helping us to become conscious and create this experience intentionally when we want to. We become very aware of the language of what we're saying with our hearts. So this is a common, you asked me, what is a common theme in these indigenous traditions? Common themes: one, everything is connected. Two, the language that speaks to that connection is the language of the heart.
Yes, that connect me with I think a project that you are involved also.
Yes.
The global.
It's called the Global Coherence Initiative.
Yes.
So here's what the science now has shown us, and this is a new discovery that should be on the cover of every magazine, but it is not. And very few people now are hearing about this. 1991, scientists discovered in the heart cells that look like brain cells, but they're in the heart, they're not in the brain. And they discovered about 40,000 of these cells in the heart. They are called neurites, sensory neurites. And what it means is we have a small brain in our heart. It doesn't look like this brain in our head, but it has the same function. It is a neural network in the heart. It has its own memory. It thinks separately from the brain, and it communicates with the world in a very, very different way. So we have a brain in our heart, and we have another brain in our head, and we tend to use them separately. Where our power comes from is when we can combine, when we can marry the brain in our heart and the brain in our head together. So two neural networks into one very powerful network, that's where we find our power as humans. It gives us deep states of intuition. It triggers very healthy chemistry in our bodies. It triggers a healthy immune system. Over 1,400 biochemical reactions in our body just from connecting these together. Anti-aging hormones, so we can live to 200 years, just from connecting these two. the Institute of Heart Math. And for our listeners that may not be familiar, it's H-E-A-R-T, capital M-A-T-H, but it's all one word. They are a pioneering research organization in Northern California whose mission is to explore the power of the human heart beyond what medical science tells us. So they're looking at the heart in terms of energy. What does heart energy mean to us in our world? What they have found is that the magnetic field of the human heart is in direct communication with the magnetic field of our planet, of the Earth. And when we can connect the heart and the brain together, we call this coherence. It is an electrical signal, very low frequency, 0.1 hertz. When we feel the feeling that creates 0.1 hertz in our heart, that is when we're connecting our heart and our brain, and we call this optimal coherence. When that happens, we are now communicating with the field of the Earth in a very positive way. And what the studies have shown is that in a community, so maybe in the office, in the workplace, in the school, in the family, in a small town, in a large city, when many people are doing this in their body, it creates in the field, it creates in that field a coherence in the field, and that coherence brings people close together. It helps people cooperate when they're solving the problems. So in a corporate boardroom, when people create this heart-brain experience, then in the boardroom, people begin to work together, to cooperate, to solve their problems. In a big community, it works exactly the same way. And now the studies are showing it even happens between nations. So here we are at a time in the history of the Earth. We're living a time of extremes. The economies are stretched. Climate change is stretching. Social change is stretching everyone. Religious change, we're all being stretched. That is stressful to the body. And people, the old solutions are no longer working. So we must find new solutions. When we approach these solutions from our heart and our brain, connected, then it gives us the cooperation to be successful with what we're doing. The project that is exploring this, it is called the Global Coherence Initiative. So personal coherence is good for the individual. Global coherence is good for the community and good for the planet. So this is the first scientific project ever designed for the only purpose, the specific purpose, is to bring people together, people from different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, different beliefs, to bring them together in a positive, healthy way so that we can cooperate and work together as we find new solutions in a changing world. So I have to say that for transparency, I am on the steering committee and the science advisory board for the Global Coherence Initiative. I am not an employee of HeartMath, but I believe in this project. And I believe this project has the potential to help us in a positive way embrace the change in a healthy way that we find in our world together today. So that's why I'm very happy to talk about this project.
Yes, I think it's very beautiful. Even the metaphor that represents, it's incredible. And I was thinking, as we are the ones we were waiting for, that many people, even feeling that, they are really a bit lost.
Sure. Any confusion that an individual has about their lives, their purpose in life, and what they can contribute, that confusion happens when we are not connected between our heart and our brain. So we can go a few more minutes. That's okay. We can go a few minutes. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So the confusion comes when we are not connected between our heart and our brain. So the first thing I recommend is to find that connection, to use the techniques designed by our ancestors that are now confirmed in the laboratory. to connect the heart and the brain. Heart math is one path that teaches this. There are other paths. When we move to our heart and we feel feelings of positive feelings, of gratitude, appreciation, care, compassion, that is the beginning to set up this connection. When we are quiet just for a moment and we shift our awareness from the everyday world into our heart. Okay? And sometimes people like to actually touch their heart. And when you touch your heart, your awareness goes where you feel the touch. Okay? So you shift your awareness into your heart. Okay? That's the first step. And the second step is to begin to breathe from this place and feel those feelings. Care, gratitude, appreciation, compassion. And this begins to set up a communication between the heart and the brain. And that balance, that harmony, and that experience, once you have that, then you can begin to ask yourself the questions. Deep states of intuition are created by doing this. You ask the question, am I fulfilling my heart's desire in this world? And what is it that I can contribute in this world? But you're asking using this entire neural network. Because if you ask only with the brain is poo. What can I do? How can I make money here? And how can I support this? And I don't have the training for this. And I need a degree for this. And that's the brain. But the heart doesn't do that. And I think what people will find is it's less important what they are doing. What they are doing is less important, and it's more important how they feel about what they are doing. So if you are a banker, if you are working construction, if you are fixing motors on the car, if you are working at a grocery store, all of those are important things. We need those in the world. But it's important how you feel when you're doing that. If you feel when you're working at the grocery store that you're helping people, at the bank, you are helping people with a very important part of their lives. If you're fixing the motor on the car, that's people's safety. That's their life. It's all very important. So it's how we feel about what we do. And if this is not fulfilling what we are doing now, then we make a new choice. But we make that choice from this connection. And I think that's important.
Oh.
So a long answer to a short question.
No, it was very important, really. And when it became the time, I remember, yes, time, our relation to the time, that it's one thing that I wanted to talk with you. It's about this vertical time, this range of possibilities that
Sure.
we are not creating, but we are choosing. What experience do we have?
Well, people don't know they have the power. That's the thing. We have the power, but not everyone is aware because our lives are very busy. We're trying to go to work and take care of the children and pay the bills and all of those things. So our lives are very busy. We don't think about this power. For me, it all comes back to the context. I like to look at the big picture to know what's happening, and then I like to look at my life, the little picture, inside the big picture. So the big picture is the world is changing in ways that we have never seen, in ways that we are not used to, and the changes are happening very fast, faster than we have been prepared to accept. So even the ancestors, I have been with presidents of nations, I have been with political leaders, spiritual leaders, scientists, engineers, religious leaders. All of them have been saying for a long time, there is a big change coming. They've all been saying that. Every one of them is absolutely amazed at how fast the change is sweeping the earth. The earth is changing, people are changing, nations are changing, economies are changing, the climate is changing, religion is changing, spirituality is changing, and it's all happening in a little window of time. So this generation is the first generation in a very long time to experience so many different changes all in the same time. And that is stressful to our lives, it's stressful to our bodies if we do not understand what's happening. But if we know that this is the time of change, if we know that the cycles of change are converging, and this is a very special generation. because it takes one generation to live the time of the change. It takes one very strong generation to live the old ways of thinking and the old ways of working together, and to see those ways begin to fail. So the old solutions are no longer working. At the same time, a new way of thinking, a new way of living is emerging, but it is not here 100%. And it takes one generation to walk between those worlds. One generation has one foot in the old world, one foot in the new world, and that's this generation. And when we recognize that that's happening, and that the old things are breaking because they are no longer sustainable, the only things that are breaking are the things that are unsustainable. The global economy is unsustainable in its present form. And it is like a rubber band being stretched, and it is breaking now because a new economy is emerging. The old way of thinking about energy has been stretched. The old ideas of only fossil fuels and what that means, and it's led to the war and the conflict. That way is now breaking down and something new is emerging. And this is the generation that is in between both worlds. So I think it's a very, very exciting time when we think about time. So if we can keep the big picture in mind, that we are moving from an old world to a new world, and within that, that we are empowered to embrace that change in our lives, connect our heart and our brain, and that helps us to be resilient to the change. Then, if we can just keep that in mind, then we go about every day. So then we go to work, we go to school, we put gas in the car, we go to the grocery store, we take care of our children. We do our daily life, but in the back of our mind, we have the big picture in mind that together we are building a new world. It's a better world. And we now know what doesn't work. We know the things that don't work. Fossil fuels, 100% doesn't work. Corporations based on competition doesn't necessarily work. There are other ways. Nations doing this against other nations, it's not working. So we need cooperation between companies, cooperation between nations, cooperation between people. Yes. And this is the best science is now telling us that nature in the world is based upon cooperation, not competition, like Charles Darwin told us. So we all believe that competition is the fundamental rule. The economies are based on competition. Corporations are based on competition. We have learned competition in our homes, in our families, in our friends, in the workplace. It worked in the old world. The new world that's emerging, it won't work. And so now we know the new science is based upon cooperation. So when we can keep that big picture in mind, then the changes begin to look very different. And we say, that change is necessary because we're moving to a new world, and it's not so frightening. But if we don't know that big picture, the change can look very frightening because it's different. It's different from what we used to know.
I know we have short of.
We're okay. We're okay.
And one of the things that came to my mind, it was one thing that I think it's because you said correctly that many people don't know about their power to influence the world and to influence their lives.
Sure. I will close. I'm going to tell a quick story to close this. My wife and I live in a rural community in northern New Mexico, a farm-based community. Very small villages in northern New Mexico in the United States. And the people have had a very difficult time because of the economy is not so good. Climate change has ruined the crops. The rain is not coming. They cannot grow the crops. They cannot sustain the farms. It's been very difficult. A good friend of mine is a builder. He builds homes, beautiful, green, sustainable forms of homes. For 30 years he was doing this. And he was given a project to build an entire community of homes, the biggest project he ever had. The problem is it was in the year 2008. 2008, The economy crashed, housing crashed, he lost everything. He had nothing. He said, what am I going to do? He lost his ability to earn his income, all of the workers he couldn't support. In the old way of thinking, based on competition, when something like that happens, in the past, people say, how can I recreate this again? Where can I go to build homes? Because that's what he knows. Okay? He didn't do that. He did something different. He asked a different question, and this is the reason I'm sharing this. I'm going to invite our listeners to ask this question. In the old way of thinking, based upon competition, the question is, what can I get from this choice? So if I say yes to a relationship, or if I say yes to a job, what can I get? What's in it for me? The new world, based on cooperation, means the question must change. And the question now becomes, what can I give? What can I offer? What can I contribute? What can I share? Ken asked this, the man's name is Ken, he asked the question. He didn't say, what do I need? He said, what does my community need? He said, what do people need in their lives? He builds houses. He said, they don't need a house. He said, but they need to care for themselves. They need to be able to grow their own food, for example. So he began to design, prototype, and build a new system of greenhouse that is covered. It is good year-round, 12 months, no matter how hot or how cold, self-watering, self-heating greenhouse. He can make small ones to go on people's balcony in a big city. He can make big ones to go in the field. He is now more successful doing that than he ever was building homes. He's happier, he's healthier, his stress level is down, he loves his job, and all he did was change the question. He said, what can I give? What can I offer? What can I share? What can I contribute to the new world that's emerging? And I'm going to invite our listeners and our viewers to do this. I do it every day. I say, what is it that I have today that will help my family, my community, and the world? Not what do I need, what does the world need? Because when we fulfill that, then we receive in return. And it is a very, very different way of thinking, but we are moving into a very, very different world. In a world where nature is based on cooperation, it makes perfect sense to ask, what can I contribute? What can I share? What can I offer? What can I give? And when we do that, it opens the door to many, many different ways of thriving in a time of extremes. So my friend now is more successful in the worst economy in 80 years in the United States of America. He is now more successful than he ever was building a home, and all he did was change the question.